Good morning, News in Motion viewers. How are we doing today? Today is March 14th, 2023. It is a Tuesday, y'all. That's happening Tuesday. It's also Taco Tuesday. So, some dinner idea for you if you're in the mood for a taco tonight. As you're tuning into the room, let us know where you're tuning in from, whether it's through LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Shout out to all the audio and podcast listeners as well. Make sure that you're keeping your eyes on that road, especially if you're here in Columbus, Ohio. The weather can't seem to make up its mind on whether it wants sunshine or snow, or even rain sometimes. So keep your eyes on that road. And with that being said, y'all ready for this? Let's get this news in motion.
News in motion.
What's up, everyone? Yes, just so that y'all know, I can see Isaiah, although we're in two different places. And he had me cracking up. He always has me cracking up. I just love his spirit. So that's why when y'all see me cracking up, I'm just laughing at Isaiah. But I see Lori Wallace in here. I see Tracy Newmy. Good morning. I see Regina Shorts. I see my brother Lewis Pryor. I see Deborah Johnson. Good morning. Gwen, what's up, girl? Good morning, Dr. Antoinette. Good morning, Robert Holman. Good morning, Kenny Stanley. Good morning. I see Adrian coming in here. Good morning to you, Jeffrey Allen James. Good morning, Marion Jackson. Good morning, Shardinia. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Y'all not playing around in here this morning. Stephanie Burbridge Hall is coming in here. I see her popping up in here. Good morning to you. Excuse me, and I'm sure I've missed a few people. Good morning to all of our podcast listeners, our audio listeners who are tuning in live. If you're checking out the replay, whether it's this afternoon or this evening or even the next day, I'm just so appreciative that you have allowed me to just spend a little part of your day with you. I see you, Shirley Nicholson. Good morning to you as well. All right, y'all, we have a lot of news, a lot of news. I share with Isaiah in the green room because we do like a run of the shows, but what is the term is called run of the show. I think Lori Wallace popped in here too. Good morning to you. So we have like what we call a run of the show, and we discuss where we're headed. So we get on here earlier than when we go live here with all of you. And so I just said to Isaiah this morning, I said, there's so much news. I don't know where I'm starting. I don't know where we're going. He said, just go with the flow. He knows me by now to just say, go ahead, Auntie, just go with the flow. So that's what we're going to do, y'all. Today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, March the 14th, 2023. I am your host, Gail Dudley, y'all. We are knocking on 3 years. Don't forget. We're going to get y'all all the way to March the 30th, which is a Thursday. And then we're taking off a much needed break for the entire month of April, and we'll come back strong in May. We'll have May. We'll celebrate our 3-year anniversary in June, which is going to be June 22nd. And then the young people will take over in July. It'll be Lexi and Isaiah again. Aren't they just amazing? Y'all shout out to Lexi, who's doing some great schoolwork at her high school and what she's doing. So you haven't been seeing her on Thursdays because she's now part of these different leadership experiences at her school. So we don't want to interfere with that. And then again, on August, we take a break again. Then we'll come back in September. That will take us all the way to the holiday. So that's just a sneak peek into our schedule. But we have a lot of news that we want to share with you today. So starting with Women's History Month, y'all, today being March the 14th is equal pay day. I see you, Kim Edmondson. Equal pay day is as women break glass ceilings in various industries, pay for their accomplishments often don't equal that of their counterparts. And if we're honest, even Black women are below that margin. So I just want to put that out there. Now, also, I have several things when it comes to Women's History Month today. I want to say this. I focused on Rihanna yesterday. Today, I want to focus on Michelle Yeoh. After 95 years, y'all, on Sunday, an Asian woman has won Best Actress at the Academy Awards. It should not have taken this long. But shout out to her. She's a brilliant actress in all the work that she's doing. And I just want to continuously cheer her on. If you haven't watched anything she's a part of, I would encourage you to do so. You will see just how brilliant of an actress she is. And she won that from the film Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I know they took home all types of awards on Sunday. She said in her quote during her speech, "For all the little boys and girls who look like me watching tonight, this is a beacon of hope and possibilities." She goes on in her speech that says, "This is proof that dreams dream big and dreams do come true." With that being said, I want to go to another snippet of Women's History Month. We talked about Rihanna yesterday, but we did not talk about her string or orchestra. Did y'all see those Black women? All Black women, and I believe a portion of them were African women. This all came from, I wanted to dig into this yesterday, so I was able to get some information out of it. This was anchored by chords from a West African instrument called kora. Y'all, if you just look that up and see how they really dove deep into making sure that orchestra, the pianists, the backup singers, the theme, the music, all came from that heritage. And it's just amazing. So I would encourage all of y'all. Deborah said the orchestra was fired. They were. I would encourage all of y'all to look up the word kora, Kora. It's a West African instrument. Check that out and just check out some of the music. You can find it on YouTube. Amazing. And then I also dug into the song Lift Me Up and just really picked it all apart and have a whole new meaning. Now, y'all, I was talking about going to see I can't, come on, 1,200, 1,500, 5,000. No, I will watch you on a replay somewhere. But I sat there yesterday and said, I could really do a Rihanna concert with the Rihanna today. And the way her songs and there's just a presence and a peace about her. Motherhood, I believe, has changed her for the better. And that happens so often. So with that being said, Women's History Month, before I get into some of the deeper news, I want to go back and speak about something that I started yesterday. I think I have my words a little bit better today. And that is, and I'm going to use this example. I'm a part of a very prestigious writers group. You have to be invited in. You have to go through vetting and all this stuff. And it's majority white. It's majority Caucasian females. And it's a female group. And there were several of us, African-American women, who raised a question and started pushing back on the board. The board is all white female. We were pushing back on the presenters. We were pushing back on the publishers and the agents and things like that being all majority white, a white arena. And so we started having these conversations around some things, and we were saying, we want to see more Black women. We want to see, we were using the term Black women or women of color. And so we opened it up and did a big recruitment several years ago. And we did receive that. We received a beautiful group of people, women of people of color, Asian descent, Filipino, Ethiopian, and so forth and so on. And it was just amazing. But one thing we noticed, as those of us who are African-American women who raised the question in that recruitment, there were 0 African-American women who were recruited. And then when it came down to electing women on the board, there were 0 African-American women on the board. So my statement yesterday, which is great that we're seeing more diversity, and y'all know I'm a woman of diversity. My whole family, my family looks like the United Nations. And I love, 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 love it. the question that we have to wrestle with today is that have we done ourselves a disservice saying people of color, putting us in the category of people of color, which we are, or putting us in the category of Black, which we are? Does that take away from seeing African Americans take the lead in the forefront in some areas? And these are some of the things we need to wrestle through and talk about. And it's getting to the place where it's becoming the forefront of things, where it's causing some tension. And what we need to not do is run away from the tension. For example, I get newsletters from some of my Asian American sisters whom I love. I support their organization even financially. And when that newsletter comes, it comes from the Asian American Coalition. And my question is this: have we decreased ourselves as African Americans because we're not sure how to respond? And again, I would love to have someone join me to have this conversation right here on News in Motion or on Politics and Prose podcast, so we can dive deeper into that. Because the reason I'm raising this even today, I don't know if Latrice is on here, but we talked about some of this. She was talking about the Oscars yesterday, and why she doesn't watch, or they're not for us. Do we dive deeper in a conversation with that? Because I believe it's going to become more and more connected with our voting, our rights. We have book banning. We now have Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor, who is taking a page from Ron DeSantis. That's what she's doing. So there were protests in her area. There were protests of people saying enough is enough. There were protests. Young people, white, Black, Asian, they were at the hearing saying these books are needed. Are we becoming a group that's being erased? I'm just going to put it out there for you, because when we're talking about book banning, what books are being banned? When we're talking about getting away from certain history classes, it's the African American history books they're trying to ban and get rid of. I was watching an interview yesterday with Joy Reid and Ibram Kendi. And it was just a very interesting take on, when you dig down into it, what's trying to be erased. What's up, Latrice Jones? I was just talking about you. I also see you, Donita, coming in there, and Hester. So y'all, I need to go here. I want y'all to watch how we're unpacking this today. Again, the way I'm gonna navigate this, I just need you to roll with me today, because I have so much I want to get off my chest, and I also have so much news I want to share, and I'm trying to connect as many dots as possible. And to be honest with y'all, I'm tired. I'm exhausted, and not tired that I didn't sleep. I'm exhausted by all this news that I'm receiving, and I'm looking at it now through a lens that's a little different than how I've looked at it before. And it's very concerning. And I feel it's only fair to share this right here on News in Motion. Hester is saying we Blacks, African Americans need not compromise ourselves and who we are to please the masses. They cannot wipe out our history. Absolutely, Hester. And thank you for saying that. I will add to that. And Isaiah, if you can post it up there so people can read that if they're tuning in live on one of the live stream platforms. The interesting thing is we back away from some conversations. It's like, oh, we don't want to muddy the water. We are always tiptoeing and being afraid to say things because we don't want to get canceled, because we're already being erased, or they're trying to erase us in some places. So we're tiptoeing, and we're trying to watch our words and make sure that we're being politically correct and make sure we're being courteous. And we're like, I don't know if I can say that. Did that come out all right? We're always questioning ourselves, because if we say something, then we'll become too assertive. And we need to bust through that ceiling. Talking about Equal Pay Day today, we need to bust through that ceiling of that. Kim Edmondson saying they are definitely trying to erase history because it's disgraceful. Yeah, and they don't want it to be in the forefront. So let's go back yesterday to this whole bank thing. Latrice says, I think we definitely have set silent when our voices should be raised. You know, again, I don't know where I'm going, so y'all just gonna have to roll with me. Many of you know that I used to be a vice president of diversity for International Women's Ministry. I traveled the world doing this work. And I was the first, that was the first position there. And I was the first Black person working in this organization, period. And the organization had been around for, I don't know, maybe 40 years before I stepped in. So it came down to that there was discrimination. And I'm the vice president of diversity. There was discrimination. And I actually went as far as to say, I know this is ministry and I know what the Bible says, but I have to stand up. And I actually filed a lawsuit against the ministry. It's a ministry out of Kansas City. And the people that I brought along, because they were glad to see some Black faces, all became very quiet. They didn't want to say anything. And I said, that is that, and by the way, I lost the lawsuit because people who had information made the decision to stay quiet. And I have to be honest with y'all, I had to work through some of that pain and then the woundedness and the rejection behind that, because I'm sitting there like, y'all know these things happen. Yeah, but we just can't say anything. This is our job. This is our church. This is our ministry. This is our this, that, and the other. So I'm gonna just stay quiet. And the pain came from not that they didn't speak, but the pain came from, at that point, it was 2013. This is 2013, and we are still wrestling with this. We are still wrestling with this. So let's look at the banks here for a moment. President Joe Biden on yesterday sought on Monday to reassure markets and consumers that the collateral damage from the implosion of Silicon Valley Bank would be limited. And as the government emphasized, no taxpayer dollars would be used to clean up the mess. These are his words, okay? And he was very careful not to use the word bailout. He also promised to hold responsible those behind the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, as well as Signature Bank, whose crypto industry ties may have led to its undoing. He goes on and says, saying a quote, Americans can have confidence that the banking system is safe. Your deposits will be there when you need them. Now, y'all, as Davia pointed out yesterday, I wanted to come back around that because some of you were asking questions. That's something else that Isaiah and we will do when we go off the air. We will go through all the comments from every platform to see if we hit them all, because sometimes they're going so fast we don't see them all. And so I'm going back to that because people were asking, well, what happened? What happened? Well, y'all, part of the Silicon Valley Bank failure has many people pointing the finger at the former guy and his deregulation. Now, y'all, 8 years ago, the Silicon Valley Bank executive officer, Greg Becker, urged Congress to pass legislation that will let his firm skate on all the work that comes, stress test, resolution plans, and so forth. Well, the former guy in 2018 signed a law that allowed mid-sized banks like Silicon Valley Bank to skirt some of the strictest post-financial crisis regulations. In the quote, it says, we've known since 2018 that stronger regulations are needed to prevent exactly what happened with Silicon Valley and as well as Signature Bank. But the Trump administration rolled back. Why? So that they can get, it's all about connecting the dots and the money and how they can get money through. But here's the problem that I have, and it's going back to Black people, African American people specifically, is that due to all these deregulations, they're in place for certain people, but other people have to jump through hoops. Other people have to show more ID. Other people have to give more information about even where we live. Certain people have to do more things. Certain people have to put in a larger deposit to even open an account. Also, is this really a bailout? FDIC guarantees bank deposits up to $250,000, but most Silicon Valley Bank and Signature clients were businesses rather than individuals, so their numbers are higher, but they said all their money's going to be there. They'll have access to all of their money. So even beyond $250,000. There's a lot of people and platforms and people who are looking like me. And I'm glad, and I hope we can all come together to have some of these conversations, is that, well, When we have, I'm going back to prescriptions for a moment, which I've talked about. When we have a prescription that says, oh, it's going to cost us $1,000 to get this, even after the insurance portion, nobody's helping us out. We have 33 million people who are food insecure. Where's that money? Nobody's helping them out. We still have people who are facing foreclosure. Nobody's helping them out. You know, they put a moratorium on for a moment, but that moratorium has been lifted. Who's helping them out? We have people who are veterans who are trying to get health care, who are trying to get a place to live. Uh, Sorry about your luck. We're not helping you out. And this is what's happening, but we're going to help these millionaires and billionaires. Really? This is America. This is the America in which we live. Yeah, this is where I'm going today, y'all. These are the questions we need to be asking. We cannot wait until January 2024. We need to ask these questions now. Jeffrey Allen James says they want to ban books or whatnot, not to control our history, but quiet the education of future generations. They really feel the need to control the narrative rather than accept the message. Latrice Jones says, say what? We do these businesses get the same coverage as an individual? Boom. That's the question that needs to be raised. So we're going to give back millions, but the FDIC only gives back up to, what's only insured is up to $250,000. So where's the rest of this money actually coming from? A question we need to ask. Donita says, always a bailout for the rich. Congress is full of crooks, criminals, and thieves. These are the questions we need to ask. Marion Jackson, silence is not always golden. We need to speak up. And we need to speak up. Fred Jones says, good morning again. He jumped over to YouTube. So these are the questions that we must keep in the forefront, and not become intimidated and back away just because someone may not want us to say anything. They want us to just be quiet. Kim Edmondson says that's happening Tuesday. Listen. So then I got to just turn the corner just a little bit. I've been following this story about how America's execution capital sends poor people to death. I can't get off of this, y'all. And I'm still digging into this. I'm going to just give you just a snippet today because it connects with where I'm going today. Y'all, in Texas, Harris County, which has executed more people than any other county in the U.S., the indigent defense system has made it exceedingly likely that poor people face the death penalty will receive poor representation. So this is HuffPost that has really been covering this. And so I dug into this. So, you know how they say everyone has a right to an attorney. Well, a lot of these people that they have been interviewing saying they may have seen their attorney once, or they may have seen them for 5 minutes. And they're telling people, well, this didn't happen. Although I'm convicted, I'm sent to jail. These things did not happen. So I want to open this up and just dig just a little bit. We're going to keep talking about this conversation, but they're talking about poor people and Black males who are not getting the representation that they need. And this one particular guy named Cornelius, an attorney, he was unable to persuade the jury that Garcia was innocent or even deserved not to be executed. And this happened in 2012. And attorney after attorney after attorney after attorney shied away from the case. They wouldn't even hear the case. They wouldn't even deal with the case. They wouldn't even meet with the person who was behind bars. They wouldn't even take the phone calls of the family members or people who knew. They would always come to the courtroom unprepared. And as I'm looking at this story and pulling more and more of this out, when you look at it, those with the financial disparities, those who are in a different tax break are getting, they're not being sentenced, or they're getting a slap on their hand, or they have these massive GoFundMes, Kyle Rittenhouse. They have people who are supporting them with deep pockets, but the people who are either on death row or being executed, especially in Texas, Harris County, and again, they've executed more people than any other county in the U.S. They're falling under the poverty line, or they're not able to hire the attorney. We cannot disconnect these dots. And as Kim Edmondson would say, that's happening Tuesday. So again, back to coming to this GOP-led states where they're trying to block teaching of American history. And now Sarah Huckabee Sanders has jumped on that. We have disparities. We also have Michael Cohen, who testified yesterday about the hush money grand jury for over 3 hours and will return again on Wednesday to give more testimony. Well, how much more testimony are the taxpayers, have to pay for before somebody gets indicted? Why are we still having the conversation? The whole world knows what he's done. So why aren't we dealing with it? Why aren't we paying attention? Why hasn't, here you go, Dr. Antoinette, Merrick Garland jumped on this? Why did he refuse to hear this case? Why? We all know what he's done. So why is he refusing to hear this case? And then even on top of all of this, y'all, we have Mitch McConnell, who was discharged from the hospital yesterday after a concussion. Now he's going to enter inpatient rehab. As y'all know, he's 81-year-old Kentucky Republican with perfect insurance, which they run the country, so they should have perfect insurance. But even when it comes to some of the bills and legislation that has to go through, and he's considered the minority leader of the Senate, well, what's going to happen? Are we halting things? Is he still going to read some of the legislation and bills? Are they going to change some of the parliamentarian procedures to say that he can vote from the inpatient rehab? Are we now just halted? What's going on here? Well, what are we doing here? These are questions that we have to raise. Kim Evanson says they're never fully funded the public defender's office. Lori Wallace says those attorneys making a lot of money and not thinking twice, waiting for the next paycheck. Donita says taxpayer dollars are used for everything else, bailouts, Ukraine, etc., other than helping the taxpayer. The wealthy get all the tax breaks, generally paying less tax. Dr. Antoinette said, and the committee did the research for Garland. Yeah. And then Kim Edmondson wants to remind all the fellow YouTubers to please hit the like button. Thank you for doing that. But y'all, I'm coming in. I hope this isn't too heavy, but we need to talk about these things. We cannot go on to the next headline without dealing with some of these things right here. So what's going to happen there? And then just to change just a little bit on that's happening Tuesday, people are now calling for others, especially the Democratic Party, to back away, get your hands off, your lips off of, shut your mouth when it comes to Madam Vice President. As we know, Senator Elizabeth Warren back in January, and this now has come to light, it's been made public, that she was having a conversation, an interview during a podcast, and she's backing Joe Biden to run. He hasn't said he's running yet, but she's backing that. But when they asked about should he keep his vice president, Kamala Harris, she says her first words were, "I shall defer that." That's just a yes or no. You can't answer that. And then she starts talking about how, I like Kamala, and we worked on a project before when she was a senator, and I was still teaching school. And I said, why she go soft all of a sudden? So Harris supporters aren't the only ones who saying that they've had enough. Top Democrats thinking that Biden appears headed towards a re-election campaign announcement, according to CNN's conversations with 36 leading Democrats, is fear that the years of Harris negativity could now prove a political problem. But the question is, why is there a Harris negativity? Why is that? Who created that, and why is it out there? So they're now trying to put all onus on her and what she either has or has not done. they're saying that it's gone from negative to we can't have her be weak to the positive. She must be a force, and she's demonstrated that she can, to top operatives. And Harris has declined an interview. She's declined Senator Elizabeth Warren's phone calls, and Warren has called her twice to apologize, saying that's not what she meant. But y'all, this is the conversation we need to continue to have, going way back to where I started this morning with Women's History Month. You know, it sounds like I like Black people. Like, what is this? Where are we coming from, and how do we shift this narrative? Well, we can do that with our vote. We can do that with our vote, and what that looks like. Jeffrey Allen James says, I see an Al Gore situation coming back around. Shirley Nicholson says, yes, we do. Donita says, we know why. George Sanders, good morning. He says she was hindered by a 50-50 Senate. All of this is coming to light, but we have our voices that we can use. Also, if I want to keep going, this is a lot of news, y'all. This is a lot of news. Deborah Johnson says, when was the VP ever a force? Good question. Kim Edmondson says, ask the questions. We have to. Then to keep going in the news with that's happening Tuesday, Illinois now has mandatory paid leave for any reason. Associated Press is reporting that they became one of 3 states to require employers to offer paid time off for any reason. And the governor signed that law on Monday, and it will take effect as of January the 1st, 2024. And it says that Illinois employers must offer workers paid time off based on hours worked, with no need to explain the reason for their absence, as long as they provide notice in accordance with reasonable employer standards. Maine and Nevada are the other 2. They structured this to say that employees will accrue 1 hour of paid leave for every 40 hours worked, up to 40 hours total, although the employer may offer them more. Employees can start using the time once they have worked for 90 days. Seasonal workers will be exempt. But y'all, they're coming in, and this comes from a voice and people saying they're tired. Give us something. So let's talk about that just for a moment as well. We talked about this on News in Motion many times before. We cannot protest and then retreat and say, okay, that's over. It has to be a continuation until you see something become law, until you see some legislation come across the desk. We have to keep going. Latrice Jones says Biden doesn't need to run, but there isn't anyone viable in the ranks. Honestly, we African Americans need to ask real questions about Kamala's contributions. Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. And I've been critical. I've been critical of Madam Vice President. Excited that she's the first Black female vice president. But after that, what work are we doing? And we see, she has that huge piece with the border. Well, what's really happening at the border are beyond the photo opportunities. So I've been a critic. I have been. But at the same time, we have to look at the complete picture and the complete package. And I'm afraid the Democrats have no one to run. And which comes back to, why is that? Oh my gosh, I want to, let me get to Dr. Antoinette. I'm coming back to that. Don't let me forget that, somebody. Dr. Antoinette says, when we're confident in our power, we're threatening. When we're passionate, we're angry. When we speak up for equality, we're not a team player. Yes to all of that. So let's bring that in with what Latrice Jones is saying, and where we are right now. Now, y'all know this is my love. Y'all know I've always dreamed of being an attorney, but I know I could never pass the bar because I'm not a test taker, okay? And I'm not downing myself. That's just what I believe is my truth. With that, we are so cliquish, even when it comes to local chambers, state chambers, federal chambers. I'm talking about senators, House representatives, politicians, grassroots organizers, PTA, PTO, you name it, organized movements, all of it, where we become so cliquish that if we don't put up what we believe is our next person, although somebody else is better to come along and be placed in that position, we will then attack the people or the person who's trying to come out in the forefront. It's almost as if you don't put up my person, we're done with you and we're going to destroy you. Although the person may have more experience, they may know foreign policies, economics, or they can build an amazing team to bring all these pieces and parts together. But what happens, we just happen to fall in line with whoever they put out there for us to cheer on. That needs to change. That needs to change. And there's times I feel as if I'm wasting my breath even having these conversations, but we have to break that system. We have to stop being so insecure and letting our feelings, being all up in our feelings that we didn't get chosen. And I've worked for 30 years. I need to be next. Get over yourself. You've done great for 30 years. And what you've done has pushed us to where we needed to be. But now let's go to Moses. And y'all can bring this in as the inspirational message. Let's go to Moses. I see you, Isaiah. Let's go to Moses for a moment. Moses, he was like, I just want to get to the promised land where this milk. Well, dude, you ain't getting there. You're not going, took you too long. You had some falling out. Y'all know the story about Moses. You're not going to get in. You just not going to get in. You're going to be able to stand here with God and see what you could have done and where you could be, but you're not going. And Moses, he ain't pitch a fit. He ain't go off. I ain't making it in. I'm not getting there. I've been through the valley. I crossed over the Red Sea, but I ain't gonna make it in. I'm not getting there. We have to be okay with that. We do. And I'm afraid that many of us aren't okay. And we're doing a disservice. I'm gonna bring up something I've talked about before. We're doing this disservice that everybody has to have a trophy. We're teaching our children that you don't have to be good at this skill because you're still going to get a trophy. I know people don't like it when I say that. Listen, seriously, when I tried out for cheerleading at East High School, the first time I ain't make it. So I just worked harder to do it. When I went to the hallway, because we didn't have computers, they didn't send you an email, your name was up on a board. Either you got in or you didn't get in. And people, I made it. Oh, I didn't make it. So I had a decision. Am I going to sulk? Yeah, I was disappointed, but I just need to work harder when basketball season rolled around. And when it was time for basketball cheerleading tryout, I was ready. Okay. And I was on the team the rest of the time until I graduated. Okay. Homecoming queen, which I'm not even in all that stuff. I was like, who put me on this thing? But I didn't make queen. Our friend Carmen Faddis did, but I still made the court. Okay, I didn't make the queen. I didn't want to do this anyway, but I made it. Okay, but now we're like, everybody got to get a trophy. Why does everybody have to have a trophy? Why? Now there are sports where nobody gets any points because everybody gets to play. Well, don't call it a sport. Just call it a recreational activity because we're teaching our young people that everybody can't be CEO of the same company. Only one, or now there's co-CEOs because that was an issue too. Let's make it two because somebody's feelings are going to get hurt. What is really going on? What's really going on? Devontae says, tie it all together and make it play. Listen, we have got to. Let's talk about Devontae for a moment. He's getting media, black media, not just Devontae. We're getting put out of things like, no, we don't want them in here. Take away their press pass. Why? Are you afraid that we're going to offer you the truth? Don't you want the truth? Are we so sensitive that we no longer want the truth? We just want you to soothe my feelings? No, this is what's about to happen. The president in Florida of the schools and how the governor's over the school and the school board. That's about to happen in Ohio. Wake up, somebody. It's a precedent that has been set in Florida that's coming to Ohio. Then it will go to Texas and Arizona and Georgia and wherever else. And then everybody's going to be controlling our schools but us, because we have given that away. Why? Because our feelings are hurt, because I was next. I was supposed to be the next senator. Sit down somewhere. Please sit down. Sit down. Tell me, what gives you the right to become the next senator? What do you have to offer besides your money? Besides your money, what can you bring to the table? Y'all, when we're going into 2024 ready to vote, these are the things we have to be looking at. Popularity contests been over. That's over. We got to look at, what are you going to do about regulating banks? What are you going to do about regulating the railroad system? What are you going to do about regulating our servicemen and women who need insurance? What are you going to do about regulating prescriptions, not just a photo op with an executive order, but beyond that? What are you going to do when you get pushed back? Are you going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, let me go over here with my tail between my legs and sit down? Or are you going to take a stand and raise your voices? What are we going to do about the pensions of people? What are we really going to do about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Not just a soundbite. What are you offering? I want to see a plan. What's your plan for this? And how do you propose to get this piece of legislation through the chambers? How are we going to vote? Y'all, here's the thing. We're no longer for sale. How about that? We're no longer for sale. You're going to have to prove to us as to why you get my vote. Latrice says, ooh, Gail Dudley's on fire today. And I was coming out calm. But the more I think about this, I know I got to go, but let me keep going here, y'all. Dallas Morning News reports there were 2,359 reports of unruly passengers through most of 2022. Only out of that 2,359, only 823 have an investigation. What? What about you take all 2,359 off the plane because they're putting everybody else in jeopardy? Well, I can tell you why. Some of them have connections. They called people. They gave their narrative, their point of the story. So they still on the list. No, they need to be on the do not fly list as well. Y'all get this. Last Monday, a video of a fight broke out on Southwest Airlines from Dallas to Phoenix. Not the dude who says it's going to be a bloodbath up in the air. Not him. This is somebody totally different. We ain't hear about this one, did we, y'all? Y'all, it has 13,000 views on Twitter of a man holding another man in a headlock. Another video from September shows a man sucker punching another person on American Airlines and the flight, and the attendant in the back of the head of a flight to Cabo San Lucas to Los Angeles. In November, Southwest Airlines flight traveling from Houston to Ohio made an emergency landing stop in Arkansas because of an unruly passenger who authorities also said that he tried to open up the exit door. What is up with y'all on these exit doors on these flights? Why aren't we vetting? Why aren't we paying our flight attendants enough money? Why aren't we putting them on a do not fly list? Why aren't we hearing about these things? Why? Why aren't we doing this? In Australia, political commentator who was aboard an American Airlines flight to Dallas caused an internet stir because they said, and I quote, "I was wedged between two obese people." Are you kidding me right now? Go sit somewhere else on the plane or don't fly. As of December the 15th, the Federal Aviation Administration published that there were 2,359 reports. Only 832 are being investigated. And even with that, only 553 are action cases initiated, according to the FAA data. Help me understand this. What is this? Fred Jones says, story like this serve as a distraction. Y'all, there's so much we have to unpack and deal with. Kenny Stanley says their politicians always come around when it's time for elections. And that goes back to what Fred Jones says. Stories like these are only a distraction. They're distracting us from the truth, but all of these things are interconnected. Why? FAA, where does the money come from? Hello, somebody. So why aren't they talking about it? Well, if the airlines are losing money, that's going to affect the money. That's with the FAA. That's going to affect the money with the Federal Reserve. That's going to affect the money with what? The administration, y'all. Connect the dots. So raise the questions about what's happening. All right, y'all, there's so much there. The inspirational message was tied in there. I want to continue this conversation. I don't know where we go from here. I don't want to just be a talking head. I want to see us take action. And the call to action today is take time out. Give yourself 15 minutes a day. Take the news that you hear and go and research it. I am so grateful that Latrice Jones yesterday said, what are the bill numbers? And I went back through and gave her those 3 bills. There were 2 House bills and 1 Senate bill in Florida. Look these things up for yourself and start having a conversation with your family and friends. That's where we start. And for those of you who have been emailing me or texting me saying, girl, it's too early to talk about voting, you're the problem. Yeah, I said it right here on News in Motion. You are the problem. You're the problem. You're the problem because you're not ready to talk about it. You're waiting until the last minute. That's too late. That's too late. All right, let me see. Lori says, take time out, do your own research. Kim Edmonds says, write to Fred Jones, always follow the money. You got to connect the dots here, y'all. There's a lot, and we only have a short time here on News in Motion to give all this to you. I want to continue this conversation because I didn't even talk about what's coming out the White House. I didn't even talk about this. But anyway, I got to run. I'm Gail Dudley, the host of News in Motion. Hopefully you grabbed something from this today. And for those of you who are considering running for an office and you don't even know where to start, if you go to our News in Motion page, or if you go to my LinkedIn page, or you go to even my Instagram page, I finally decided, after sitting on this for years, that I'm going to do a 5-week program, but it's going to cost. There's an investment behind that. And even the investment that I put out there is half of what other organizations are charging. I can get you all set to go and run for office, and the time would be now. So check that out. It's called Politically Savvy, and it's an investment. And I'm not even going to blink my eyes. It's an investment. So either you're in it or you're not. All the policies, details, and everything will be given to you in the course. There's also even a bonus course with that, so you can just check it out. But y'all, until tomorrow, I am your host, Gail Dudley. Y'all know what I say. Stay well, and remember, make some bold moves. I'm out.
News in motion.